All right. It's the morning audio community meetup here at GDC. It's Friday. Wow, slow to start today. Can you even imagine? Energy here on the ground, for me, still pretty high, but other folks finding their way slowly here. We're going to give that a few minutes to just kind of happen because life, it goes at its own flow. So if you're tuned in, thanks for taking a peek at what is going on here. This is going to be a conversation with the game audio community here. We're going to talk about what happened on the ground here in San Francisco yesterday at the Game Developers Conference. And then we're going to talk about what's left to do on this last day, Friday, of the event. Expect some interesting perspectives from folks in the community. We crowdsource their energy, we crowdsource their epiphanies and the exciting things that they're experiencing. And try to push that out to folks in the wider audio community who can't be here at GDC. Started this thing called the Game Audio Podcast in 2009, really just about conversations with folks in the community about the cool things that they're doing. And over the years at the conference here, it turned into a bunch of folks sitting around a table doing the same, and we started carrying that as part of the podcast to the wider community. Flash forward, and here we are. This is a 360-degree live streaming experience. Is that technology? I think so, and hope this is a compelling way to catch the lightning here on the ground. So sit tight. I'm going to let this roll for a few more minutes and then call things to order. All right. Places, everybody. Let's fill it up, please. Who's sitting next to me? Come on. Okay, fine. There we go. There's a little bit of magic sparkle. Like that. Well, let's do this too because oh yeah! Welcome, everybody, to the Game Audio Podcast at GDC. This is the Morning Audio Community Meetup. It is Friday morning. Wow. Thank you for arriving here with what little energy I know you have left. I'm right here with you. So thanks again for being here. I'm joined today by my co-host, Beasley. Thank you for being here. I'm going to get a little housekeeping out of the way, and then I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right, sounds good.
Cool. All right, thanks. Who's been to this before? Who made it out this week? Yeah, great. Good to see some familiar faces, and welcome to new folks. I'm going to kind of run down the format of this. It's pretty casual. We're going to start with talking about what happened yesterday, if you can reach that far back into your memory. What did happen yesterday? Blurry. So, and then at some point, we're going to flip the switch and talk about what's left today on Friday. So we're just trying to pull all of the experiences that you've had and try to, power up from the multiverse of experiences that people have been able to get out there and gain knowledge from, because can't be everywhere all at once with everything. As part of that. And so, yeah, really counting on folks to surface the cool things that happen so that we can learn from that and really take the best from it. I've really enjoyed these talks over the last few days. They give me life, and they actually feed conversations, because some of the insights that folks surface, I feel like slot so well into conversations that I'm having. So thank you for that. Thank you for bringing those. The last thing I'll mention is that this is being live streamed in 360, so if that's uncomfortable, this is your moment. But otherwise, that is towards the goal of trying to carry this conversation about what's happening on the ground, which we have the privilege to experience, to the wider game audio community, in the hopes that other folks out there can benefit from what we're learning, what we're experiencing, what we're sharing. So thank you for participating in that, and thanks to the folks who donated to support the equipment rental to make this happen. Really appreciate it. Would have been really difficult to do without you, so thanks for that. So I'm super stoked because throughout the week I've had a series of co-hosts. They help moderate and just kind of keep the flow going. And over the week, we had several composers that helped bring their perspective and personality to this. And it was cool towards the end of this week to kind of switch gears and have co-hosts that are community leaders across their own communities. And so at GDC, it feels like we all pull together under this one umbrella, and it's inspiring to have the perspectives of these community leaders out there helping to catalyze communities in their own neighborhoods. So, long-winded intro over. I'd like to introduce again Noah Beasley, and can you tell us a little bit about what you're up to?
Sure, yeah. So I'm an independent composer for games, working mainly in the indie space. I am also an assistant professor of game audio at Berklee College of Music and a co-organizer at Game Audio Boston.
Yeah, and I was so glad to land in Boston last fall and be able to land with the community there. And again, just like gives me energy, it feeds this passion for interactive audio, and I'm so glad that I put the flag up and was like, I'm coming to town, and like pulled it together, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to put up an event, and I unfortunately missed it because I just flew out to GameSoundCon, but I hear like everyone had a great time.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I think that's actually when I moved to Seattle 8 years ago. It was like the community was already there. There were already just a ton of great folks who had been leading that, and so I started coming to Seattle as a contractor, and every time I came to town I would just be like, yo, who wants to get together? And folks would just come out, and it was beautiful to be able to engage the community, to be able to connect with people. And sometimes that's all it takes, is someone to put the flag on the moon and say, here, this time, let's do this, and I've experienced that, and thank you for that again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's really important to have to organize local events. Boston, we're a much smaller community, but it's very tight knit, and so we have a lot of really, really great organizers. We all organize through Meetup. So Game Audio Boston is just one of the organizations in this umbrella. So for some reason, we all congregate on Slack. We've all decided that Discord is not where that lives. So. Is it? But yeah, it's been really great to connect not just with audio people, but all kinds of organizers in game dev, like Boston Indies and Pure Game Dev Boston. There's just like a bunch of different groups, and we all work together to put up events like picnics and barbecues, as well as our own separate smaller events.
Cool. And there's a piece in there about audio being a part of something bigger, right? And audio having this connective tissue across other disciplines. And I'm going to bookmark that, but I think that is a key component to the growth of a community as well, right? So nice work, participating across disciplines in that way. It seems like a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's just, I think it's really important to have people organizing. And if you haven't already, I really want to encourage all of you to get involved in your local community. Even if you might think that there isn't like a big game dev community where you are, there's probably a Discord or maybe even a Slack somewhere where there's game developers, doing stuff.
Yeah, and there's a resource online called the Worldwide Game Audio Groups Map. So it's a Google overlay, pins across the globe for different regional groups that have links to their landing and communication channels. And then there's also a pin on Greenland, which is all of the Discord channels and other socials channels that I know of. So we need to make some updates after this conference, though, because there's been some new ones. So, but find your community, right? We have certainly found it here. So, thanks. What happened yesterday? It was Thursday, and I know that folks here have had some experiences worth talking about. So, please. And if it's your first time talking, please say your name, your pronouns, and how you fit in this game industry ecosystem.
I am Takashi from Korean Digital, and we develop Gran Turismo. And can I share two experiences?
Yeah, please.
Yesterday I told you that you have a talk of fantastic audio algorithms and working. Yeah, it was a great talk, and the speaker guys on he writes like 3 game audio programs and algorithms and write them. And he was showing several topics, some from those books, and he went on deep dive into it, and he talked about audio sync machine, third-person listener, volumetric audio, and log-free triple buffer. And
wow!
Like that was worthy, but yes. To be honest, I have to review that talk, and I go back to them, and I have to read those again. And it was a great talk because I realized that I have to do some homework.
Sure. And that was Guy Somber, you said?
Yeah.
So Guy writes a book. It is a game audio programming. It's had a couple different versions. He keeps it up to date.
And he said he's releasing a 4th one, so I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
Yeah. And the second experience that I had is the game audio programming. Not Meetup.
Roundtable.
Yeah, because I set goal to myself in GDC that I need to make friends and talk with people, and our goal is to contribute somehow to the community. And yesterday the topic was like low level DSP stuff, and I answered like 2 or 3 questions, and I was glad that I could somehow contribute to the community. It was scary. I was freaking out, but I suggest you guys to do that. It was a pleasing experience to do that.
Cool. Yeah. Roundtables. They only happen here. They don't go wider. And, that's so beautiful to be at a point where you feel contributing is core to the experience, right? I think it's fair to say we all have things to share, and thank you for bringing that, because I believe it. I believe that your contribution matters. So, that's great.
Yeah, one thing you said that really resonated with me was that feeling of, wow, I really need to do my homework, and that never goes away. Every time you come here, you'll go to talks and you'll meet new people who just like really make you realize that there's so much knowledge out there that exists, and you know. I was I met Winter from AgroCrab the other day. She does sound design implementation, and we walked together to the FMOD booth and talked to someone from FMOD, and I was like, oh yeah, I use FMOD. I you know, make interactive music systems. And she just like opened it up and was like asking all these amazing little questions, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know like what half of these things are apparently. So it was really, really cool to see someone who had really dug into it, asking them kind of really specific questions. So that for me was that moment during GDC of like, wow, I have so much to learn about this program I've been using for years, you know. So it's great that you had that experience, and you'll continue to have that experience.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Nice, thank you. That's great. Other insights from yesterday? Yeah, please.
Yeah, yesterday morning. Oh, sorry. I'm Angela. I have pronouns she, they, and I'm a sound designer in Chicago. Yesterday in the morning, there was a roundtable for creative or art. Audio direction, creative audio direction. And one thing that really stuck with me is someone brought up the importance of inter-team communication, especially in a big company. And that's something that I've been witnessing that is something that I don't know how to solve this issue, but it got me thinking about certain ways, and I followed up with someone afterwards who raised really good points. And that just got me thinking about things that I can take here and bring back home and sort of work on immediately. And I'm still thinking about that, so if anyone has suggestions, please let me know. But that was just something that really stuck with me yesterday.
Cool. Any thoughts on inter-team communication?
That's a good question. I mean, I tend to work on my own or on very small teams. I often collaborate with someone called Joel Kent, who's a great friend and has a really complementary skill set to me. And we sort of, we gel really well because we've known each other for years and have worked together for years. So I'd say, you know, find the people that you really can rely on, and you know, you kind of can almost complete each other's thoughts. It takes a lot of time to build up to that point. But obviously, it's very different if you're working on a AA or AAA game and you have like a really big team. I don't have anything to contribute to that.
I think it kind of still holds though, right? You're still looking for your people in those other disciplines, right? And you're looking for those connective tissue outside of like the JOB, where you're like, oh, we vibe with this music, or like, yeah, we both wear crazy socks. Like, you're looking for those access points with folks to kind of create that connective tissue, so that when shit goes down and you need to rely on their experience or even their access to the wider team that they work on, that you might have like an easier in to be able to get that perspective. I wonder if there's any other thoughts about, you know, interdisciplinary communication. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I think it's hard. I think sometimes we forget that we can't truly read each other's minds, you know? And so I think we forget that we just need to tell the other people or maybe other person we're working with just what we're thinking, because then they don't know how to support you if they don't know what you need support with. You know, I think sometimes we kind of get in a kind of a spiral. If we need that support, we forget to communicate that across to other people. You know? But when you just kind of remind yourself hey, I really just need to kind of mention something just so that they are aware that this is a thing, and they can put it in the back of their mind, even if it's for later. But yeah, just being open to communicating what your obstacles are, and not feeling like you have to keep it to yourself or try to deal with it by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I said that it's great to work with people who, you know, you can read each other's thoughts after so many years, but for the most part, that's not how it works, and communication is super important, because you might think that they know what you know, but most of the time they don't. You haven't communicated that. So.
Cool, yeah. I'm going to go with Kristen.
I think that's awesome. I think it's important to remember sometimes like that we're responsible for building that connective tissue, right? And then I feel like what you were touching on is about building trust and vulnerability with your teammates, and that's like the number one approach to building that interconnective tissue. And so like not being afraid to just go ask questions with your teammates, and it's okay to not know, right? And that's not a bad thing. And so they'll teach you, you'll learn from them. I just think like building that bond with your teammates is such a critical part of the development process.
Yeah, okay.
I'm Tim. I'm a teacher, and I teach a pretty diverse group of very beginning game development students. And it's funny. I'm there. You always hear that you need to bring the audio people in sooner than later, right? And that makes sense on a sort of holistic level where the audio needs to be a major part of the planning and the development process. But I think more importantly is this subject where if the audio designers and composers and everyone aren't included in the beginning, that communication becomes a lot harder later on. So allowing them to have a voice at the beginning of the design process, I think, facilitates what you guys are talking about. And I see that with my students. I mean, we are together from day one, which makes it easy for us. It's very different than a development team where we're trying to find people and form our plan. But at this stage in our semester, our audio people have been a part of the process, and not only do they know the vision and where they're supposed to go, but everyone now can talk together because they bonded. They formed that bond. So start early, and it helps.
Cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, go ahead.
Sort of as a student in similar situations working on game teams, I found that probably the most helpful thing for me was to establish a close friendship with one of the programmers, especially because when design is on fire, when art is on fire, and audio is on fire, and deadlines are coming up, usually I've gone to one of the gameplay programmers, and they've been my pretty much best friend in troubleshooting and making sure that everything works. And that cross-disciplinary bond of, hey, we help each other out, and we end up making this cool, cohesive experience at the end has been absolutely amazing for this entire field.
Thanks.
Looking forward to that when I graduate.
Cool. Cool, thanks for that. David, go ahead.
One of the things I'll say is like never assume anything. I don't know if that was already said already, but never assuming that like, oh, okay, well this person knows how to do this, or oh, they probably know that this is gonna be set up that way, or they probably know how to use this thing, because that's like the first mistake in just really anything. So kind of backing off what other people have said, just like instead of just assuming, just like ask like, hey, do we know how to do this, or are we working with this, or what are your thoughts on that? Because if we assume, we could just assume like way later in the project, and they're just like, oh, I thought you were gonna handle it. No. So yeah, never assuming anything.
Thanks. Pablo.
When talking about communication, I always like to remind that there's a specific skill set and a job pertaining to that, which we often forgot, that is producers. And obviously in big teams, they seem like a given, and in indie teams, they disappear. But the responsibility for it always stays there. And so I always suggest people that ask these questions go to producers' talks. See how they do it. There's actually a way to learn how to communicate clearly interdisciplinary. And so even if these are not our titles and it's not our job, learning from them will be very, very helpful in this kind of situations.
Yeah, so communication, trust, bonding, right? To me, I think this is one of the beautiful conversations of the moment this week, right? To me, because it extends outside of our community or the audio community, and it overlaps because of course we're crossing over into other communities, right? Of course, these other disciplines have an impact, and of course, if we're there together from the start, then all of that can find its natural place as part of the process, and it grows together, right? So to me, that is the fundamental of why there is this ask to be at the table early. And I'll bring it back to something that was brought up yesterday, where someone who was hosting at the Independent Game Festival Awards outside of the audio discipline advocated for that moment, that in bringing audio to the table early. And so when it starts to grow out because of advocacy that we do to a place where people outside of audio are trying to ensure that there's equity there early in the project, it's going great. Let's keep pushing that. Let's keep finding those opportunities to encourage that and bring people together in that idea. So something's working.
Yeah, related to that, I mean, communication not only makes for a better game and better music and better design, it's also really fun. I've been on a couple teams where, some teams are really opaque and like you don't really know what's happening so much with the art or with the design. And then other teams, everything is like really, really open. People are sending stuff all the time for you to look at. And I know it's a lot easier for me to be excited and motivated when I'm constantly looking at stuff from the artists where it's like, oh my God, I have like zero visual art skills. So I'm like always in awe of what anything an artist does. When you work on a game for a while, it can be hard to stay motivated, and just sharing and communicating is such a great way to keep going.
Mike, Ethan, other medic. Also, remember that it's a two-way street, and learning is fun. Learning new things is always interesting. And one of the ways to get people to want to engage with your discipline is to engage with their discipline. Learn their languages and their departments. Learn what an animation node is. Learn what pathfinding is. Just 10,000 books. But then when you say, I have an idea for a feature, and you can communicate to that department in their language, they might click on it faster and understand more what you're actually telling them to do, other than jumping into audio jargon and the physics program is going, I don't know what's going on.
Thank you, yeah. Like, I'm not a programmer, but early in my career I tried to latch onto a few programming terms, right? And I would like throw them into the conversation when I was asking a feature, well, don't you think you could like write a function for that? And they'd be like, what are you talking about?
You got their attention at that point.
Right. Oh, this person is trying to speak my language. Okay, cool. Like, I'm closer to this moment, right? So, yeah, thank you for that. Angela, thanks for bringing that up.
Of course.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
I guess, Alex, he, him, sound designer and composer. I guess branching off of interdisciplinary stuff, but at like, I suppose, well, it's not even necessarily an entry level, but I went to sort of speed, lightning networking or speed networking yesterday. They run it multiple times a day, it seems, and it's also being done today. Sort of a conscious decision. I was, for the most part, for the first 3 days, hanging out with mostly audio people, but so I wanted to try and meet more people in other disciplines. And it's a little bit intense. You have 5 minutes to meet with everyone, but it's really, I would recommend it for anyone trying to make those connections and find people to collaborate with at any level, but especially at entry level. And even when you start sitting across from someone who may be an investor or maybe just someone who is already has a full team and doesn't need a sound designer or whatnot. I know for myself, I was able to refer that investor to a friend who came to GDC to find investing, or when that person said, oh, sort of at the very beginning, full disclosure, we don't need a sound designer or whatnot. She still showed me her game, and it was an amazing looking game from a team, from a full team from Uruguay that I would have never heard of otherwise. So it's just always worthwhile talking with people who, obviously game audio people are the coolest. It's kind of a fact at this point. But other people are still that you may not expect are still pretty cool. So, so yeah, that's about it. Just recommending that. It's at the first one is at 10. I think it's always at 205 South Hall. They're themed, so the first one that I went to with those investors was Devs and Investors, so I probably wasn't supposed to be there, but it worked out very fortuitously for me.
Awesome. Way to go outside the stream and find, bring back that cool information. Yeah, cool.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, you're doing okay.
Adding on to that, right, going out to the stream as yesterday, I do like the animation sessions. I kind of talked about it yesterday, but I also went to the UX research. That was just so incredible because I think they're a little bit of a newer field. It's kind of developers in Minnesota. We're only here for 10, 15 years, and they complain a lot about not having the right tools, right? And I think someone over there was mentioning how it is so important to kind of like know what the other teams are doing. You don't need to be a technical artist, right? You don't need to be a programmer, but just being able to understand what the other teams are going through and like what they do with the work you sent them and what are the assumptions they're making about.
And if you want to start being invited to those meetings, it's kind of up to you to start breaking that culture by saying like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? Right? That changes the whole conversation. When you become the what do you need person, people want to invite you into the room because they're mostly coming from a place of what do I want? This is what I want. This is what I want. But as you start to do that, and as you start to achieve success in getting into those meetings, you also start to have a byproduct of permeating a culture of what do you need? And at the end of the day, what's a game studio? We're a collective of collaborators trying to make one product. So when you shift it to what do you need, what do you need, what do you need, and the whole studio starts doing that, the whole process becomes better, the whole product becomes better. But that's just my 2 cents at the end.
Thank you. Wow. Angela started it. Y'all plussed that up on a lot of angles, and that was a conversation worth having here at GDC. So thank you for that. We're going to do a speed round of Thursday epiphanies. So you've got 3 words or less, and you can share something about yesterday. We're going to go very quickly through a few people. So if you have something that was top of mind, awesome, that you want to share, 3 words or less.
Just 3?
Yep. Okay, yep, go.
Well, I saw a talk by Aaron McLaren from Epic at the Dolby booth yesterday. The clearest, most concise ambisonics and HRTF explanation I've ever heard. It was awesome. Guillaume.
Short. Awesome. Perfect. David.
Video references help.
Nice.
Yes. Totally.
Okay, Martin.
Attenuation curves.
Woo! Eric.
Atomic talk.
Nice. Okay, that one's for the vault, so dig into that. Cool. Other 3-word, okay, take a few more if you need. Epiphanies from Thursday. Yeah, Logan.
Jeff Price, Charles Sullivan was like, find value in your ritual and practice. I really resonated with that.
Cool. Carousel Con, last day is today. We'll flip to that in a second. Daniel.
What about it?
Haven't heard of it. Okay. Yeah, David.
David Heatham. Awesomeness over accuracy.
Ooh, nice. Nice. Couple last ones before we flip the switch. Yeah, please.
After event talks. Just so much better.
Nice. Cool. Daniel.
Marketing talks suck. Time is precious. Read patch notes.
Okay, cool. We're shifting it. It's Friday. It's the last day. This is it. The race to the sun. Here we go. And thank you for the sun. It's nice to be able to get out there and not suffer the precipitation. So, Friday. What are people stoked for? What's exciting? What's happening today? Yeah.
I'm really excited for Martin Stjernerson's talk at the blog, which is at 10:30, and I have sequences of it before, and it's going to be like hands-on wise experience. He has got really granular, highly adaptive soundtrack that's really interesting, with unique approach, and if I remember correctly, he has tied everything up to one single RTC that close all the music.
Wow. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
He'll also be landing at the Audio Kinetic booth after that talk to unpack it, go deeper under the hood. So if you if that's not enough, you can always land at the booth and engage and ask more questions, and might even like dig all the way down to that system and walk you through some stuff. So that's another happy intersection of this conference, is being able to get deep and right to the heart of something with the creators. So cool, thanks. Other cool stuff Friday. What are people stoked for?
Cyberpunk audio technology.
Okay.
Yeah. The audiograph talk on Wednesday was like they're pursuing the awesomeness of the accuracy. So it was very inspiring. I think it was today's one is like deep dive into the talks and also in Wednesday. So.
Okay, cool. That sounds great. Cyberpunk. Who played that game? Anyone? Okay, you folks. Dig it. Friday. What else is exciting?
I'm curious. Yes?
Let's see. It's working again. Okay. We'll go this way.
Are people going to the audio programming roundtable? Because today is the free-for-all. All right, let's do it.
And what time is that at? Do you know?
11:30, 314 South.
Awesome. So yeah, audio programming roundtable. There's been a lot of talk this week from a lot of folks sharing about how valuable those conversations have been. So this is the last one, free for all. Cool. David.
The experimental gameplay workshop is today. I think it's just like a bunch of like lightning talks about like cool games that people are working on.
Nice. And is that experimental gameplay workshop not the same as the
Alt Control. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I played a toaster game yesterday. Have you seen that? Yeah. It's very fun.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, and there's some overlap there for sure. Toasters are pretty experimental. Cool. Yeah, Elvira.
I'm going to the roundtable, but at the same time there's an artist talk about the killer portfolio of killer, and that's probably a good one, even though it's not about audio. It's going to have great insights about about that topic.
Yeah.
For anyone who's in the need to show their portfolio around, that could be a good one.
Yeah. Speaking of portfolios, Kevin Regamy took home an award last night for his contribution with Matthew Martinson in Real Talk, which is a portfolio review live stream on Twitch that he's been doing for a ton of years with various guests and collaborators. So congrats to Kevin for that award. That was great. Some other awards folks in here that we didn't touch on last night as well, who I won't call up, but congratulations to all the folks who were nominated and recognized for those achievements. Cool. Other fun Friday things?
Yeah, so my name's Leonard. He, him. I run the School of Video Game Audio. Been coming to GDC off and on since 2003 and done various talks here. And so yeah, we're just, the school was started in 2012 to try to help people out. And yeah, we've, similar to Two Feathers, survived 10 years. So basically we're just doing a very small sort of hangout at Carousel Con area at 5 today. And of course Carousel Con continues at 12:30. And so it's just, you know, hanging out. There'll be some cake there. I'm not super good with like cakey stuff, so I'm also going to bring some fruit. And yeah, you know, you can pick up something to snack, hang out, and just drop by or whatever. So yeah, it'd be great to see y'all.
To me, this sounds like the premier, like, crashing on the shore moment with the community before things spiral out into Friday night and whatever that means. So
yeah,
that sounds awesome. Thanks for putting that on the calendar. And you said Carousel Con. I'm wondering if there's anyone here who doesn't know what Carousel Con is. Cool, we got at least one, and that's enough. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so it was just sort of a collection of people meeting for lunch, game audio folks, behind the carousel. And then eventually, yeah, Matthew basically put a bit of a twist on it, said like, hey, we could just make this kind of a fun thing. It was a little bit of a, you know, knowing Matthew is kind of like, yeah, you know, there's GDC, but we got our own thing too. And so that's kind of like what Carousel Con is. It's just meant to be very open and casual and just, you know, eating lunch and bumping into different game audio folks, sort of at the lunchtime break for GDC. And myself, I mean, I didn't get a pass this year, so for me, I'm kind of like stuck on the outside. So I've been actually very much doing Carousel Con. So there's the carousel, if you know where that is, and it's kind of like behind that, and depending on like where other folks are, then we might move further back into the little more like rotunda kind of space, but we'll just play it by ear and go with that. So yeah, that's at 12:30, and then yeah, the sort of you know, School of Game Audio thing, hang out, and just in general, continuing the Carousel Con vibe is at 5 o'clock today. And I'll probably be there for, I don't know, up to 2 hours maybe, and then same thing. Then the night will still be young at 7. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's been around for a few years. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a groundswell. It started on Wednesday, it happened again yesterday, and you won't miss it because by now that, you know, is established, it's a large group of folks, and as Leonard said, like, micro talks, perspectives, it's a lot like this, right? Where people are bringing that, their experience, surfacing it and trying to share it, like as much as we can. I think as an industry, this is a great thing, and so I'm so glad that spun up and is happening. Friday, Mike.
So, it was already mentioned about Marcus Anderson and Alexander's also doing part of that talk, right?
Yes, Alexandra, Alex Papas. Yeah.
So that's in the afternoon at the audience booth. In the morning, if anyone's interested, Vibe Avenue will be talking about their work on Season of Message, a letter to the future. And I just looked at the actual what it's called, and it's I guess there's field recording in the game. So it's like playing as a audio person in a way. So it should be a really interesting talk. Come by the booth, and for the third time I'll reiterate, if you do not have an Expo Pass and you want one, talk to me after we're done here, and I can probably still get you one. You won't get as much value if you got it on Wednesday, but there's still a whole day left.
Yeah.
And you can come by and get stylish hats and t-shirts and things like that as well. So,
I currently have 4 Audio Kinetic T-shirts in my bag.
Just 4? Go ahead and get 2 more.
And there's, if you haven't seen it, it's the design is a bunch of cats doing game audio stuff.
You got an example?
So like, yeah.
But yeah,
Thank you.
Love it so much. Appreciate it.
Cool. Cats of game audio, am I right? Totally. Yeah, and Season, this game that you mentioned that Vibe Avenue is going to present on, right? It's a part of the game is you're a field recordist, right? And you can actually capture audio in the game binaurally. So you're walking around with a microphone, and it records what you hear and then represents that binaurally as a playback. And so, like, come on. Come on. Who here is not going to play that game? It sounds awesome. Yeah, so dig into it a bit more with the folks behind the audio on that. Cool. Any other expo things worth hitting while folks are down on the floor? Yeah.
Oh my God, sorry, my voice is shot. I don't know if anybody brought it up, I'm having a hard time hearing that here, but Nathaniel Daw, the audio director for Need for Speed Unbound at 11:30 today, is going to talk about hyperreal sound design and audio direction, and that game really blew me away last year. It punches so far above its weight class, and there's a lot of really exciting stuff, so also the name was right, very nice.
Cool.
For anybody who has kids or just really likes stuffies, the 10-cent booth has the QQ penguin, and they're super cute.
Ooh, yeah.
Just something fun that I did yesterday was I went up to the Belgian games booth, and they had VR painting, which I mean, I don't know if this is the case for other audio people here, but I have absolutely zero visual art skills whatsoever, and so originally I was thinking of VR sculpting as possibly a way in, but VR painting was really awesome, and yeah, it's like exactly something that I would want to sort of dive into if I ever wanted to do my own visual art. So,
Cool. Yeah, the expo floor is kind of choose your own adventure, right? It's who knows what you're going to stumble into there. Toasters and shit. Didn't see that coming. Cool. Well, let's get to it. It's Friday. There's so much to do still, and I know everyone is supercharged with energy. Okay. And so with that, I will just say again, thanks to everyone who has been here this week, who has come in the past. Yes?
I just wanted to say, you can say that afterwards, but it's just that this wise demo that we talked about, that I can show this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry. Yes. I'm making a piece of wires, and I'm showcasing. Here's trying to play my whack-a-mole game.
Yeah, so if you didn't see Daniel's talk, or even if you did, he made a game in Wise with Whack-A-Mole. He's going to have it on a table here behind us at the end. Thank you for reminding me of that. And with that, I think we have a lot to do yet today. I hope to see every one of you at some point, either now or in the future. Thanks again for coming this week. Thanks again for coming today. And thanks for being part of the community. Thanks, Noah.
Thank you for coming coming out on the Friday of GDC. Like it's been a really, really long week, and so this is like an amazing turnout. So thank you for coming.
Woo!